Hospitality is good, but when it becomes a burden, it destroys peace. Proverbs chapter 17 verse 1 says, "Better is a dry morsel, and quietness therewith, than a house full of feasting with strife." Tolu and Remi first met as teenagers at the military cadet school. Both were bold, bright, and admired for their discipline. From the beginning, they were drawn to each other, mates in drills, rivals in training, and quiet admirers in stolen moments of laughter. They both graduated the same year, brimming with dreams of serving their country. But as is common in military life, postings scattered them to different commands, and soon they lost touch. Years passed. Then, by what could only be described as providence, they met again at a funeral in Imosan village, the burial of Pa Caleb Adekoya. The reunion was electric. Time seemed to dissolve as they exchanged pleasantries, recalled youthful memories, and laughed like old friends. Numbers were exchanged, calls followed, and soon words of affection grew. Friendship turned into love. One Sunday morning, after the church service, Remi received the greatest surprise of her life. Tolu, in full military uniform, walked up to Remi, knelt before her in the presence of all, including her pastor and congregation. The entire church erupted in joy. Remi, overwhelmed, said yes. Their wedding day was unforgettable. Both in ceremonial uniforms, they exchanged vows with salutes and promises. Their union a blend of love and discipline, tradition and ambition. Everyone admired them, 2 officers, 1 heart. But the reality of marriage soon revealed cracks that love alone could not cover. Tolu was a man of the people, outgoing, cheerful, and ever surrounded by friends and family. He thrived in company, filling the house with laughter and noise. Remi, however, was the opposite. She valued privacy, quietness, and rest. Weekends, to her, were sacred moments to breathe after the pressures of barracks life. But Tolu would not let the weekends rest. Almost every Saturday, his friends and relatives trooped into their home. They expected not just food, but feasts, special dishes, traditional delicacies, meals that demanded hours of preparation. A hired cook was in the house, but Tolu's family insisted on Remi's hand-cooked meals. Tolu encouraged it, boasting proudly, "No one cooks better than my wife." So while others ate and laughed, Remi slaved in the kitchen. She cooked, served, cleaned, and collapsed in exhaustion, her rest stolen week after week. When Remi called her husband to share her frustration over the endless weekend cooking, she spoke with care. She explained that she was not against his family and friends visiting their home, but having them over every weekend was becoming too much. Sadly, Tolu dismissed her concern. "Why do you want to separate me from my family and friends?" he said sharply. "Are they not your family too?" His words cut deeply. She loved him, but she felt unheard, unseen, and used. The weight became unbearable. Her opportunity to escape came unexpectedly. A peacekeeping mission abroad opened. Though her name was not initially on the list, Remi, desperate for relief, pleaded with her superior. She confided in him about the troubles at home, and he compassionately added her to the deployment. For an entire year at the peacekeeping mission, she breathed freely, far from the constant intrusions and domestic pressures that once weighed her down at home. Yet when she returned, her heart broke again. Her teenage daughter, whom she had trained in cooking, was called upon to carry the same burden, cooking for endless guests, cleaning after their departure, living in fatigue. Nothing had changed. But Providence smiled on her again. Her excellent performance during the mission earned her a slot for advanced military studies in the UK. She embraced the opportunity, and in the UK, she distinguished herself as the best officer in the entire training program. Upon her return, she was promoted to major, a step higher than her husband, who remained a captain. Within a few more years, she was decorated as lieutenant colonel. Meanwhile, Tolu remained stagnant, unable to catch up. The gap widened, not by chance, but by diligence. The imbalance soon became glaring, yet Tolu continued to rule with arrogance, demanding endless hospitality. Remi thought within herself, if you wield authority over me as the head of the family, then you must also taste mine as your superior in the workplace. Quietly, she arranged for his transfer into her command, a move meant to humble her beloved husband. Every morning, while Remi was still in bed, Tolu had to be at the office ahead of her, waiting to salute as she arrived, park her car, and carry her bag into her office. By duty and protocol, he was the one who stood at attention, saluted her, and carried her bag into her office. It became a strange battle of pride and power. At home, he lauded his authority, drowning her in chores and duties for his guests. At work, she returned the favor with assignments, reports, and military pressure to humble him. But life had its way of humbling even the proudest. Soon, Tolu was transferred to a base in northern Nigeria, a region plagued by insecurity. One night, armed bandits launched a deadly attack. Soldiers fell in numbers. Tolu narrowly escaped with his life. A bullet tore through his leg, and in the chaos, he lost everything, even his phone. He was rushed to the hospital, wounded and shaken. When Remi couldn't reach him, her heart sank. Without hesitation, she caught the next available flight to the north. For the first time in years, the pride melted. When she found him alive, she wept like a widow restored to her husband. She stayed by his side day and night, nursing him back to health. While he recovered, she quietly began the process of his transfer back to Lagos. When at last he returned home, something in him had shifted. The weekends that were once loud with relatives and friends became silent. No familiar footsteps, no constant chatter. Curious, Remi asked gently one evening, "Why is no one coming anymore?" Tolu's face hardened, his voice heavy with disappointment. "While I was away, none of them called, not one. When death was near, I stood alone, with you, so I don't want to see any of them in this house regularly again." Remi was stunned. For years, she had begged him to set boundaries, not to drive his people away, but to protect their peace. And now, the man who once defended them had cut them off himself. She asked softly, almost afraid of the answer, "So, are you saying peace has finally come?" Tolu exhaled deeply, as if laying down a burden. "Yes, you should be happy now." A gentle smile spread across her face, her voice barely above a whisper. "I am." From that day, their home became a sanctuary. No more noisy crowds, no more endless duties. Just family, love, and the quiet peace Remi had longed for. Together, they grew old, raising children and grandchildren in harmony. Morals of the story. First, love alone cannot sustain a marriage. Understanding and boundaries must guard it. Second, hospitality is good, but when it becomes a burden, it destroys peace. Third, pride blinds, but trials humble. 4. True friends and family prove themselves in crisis, not in times of plenty. 5. A peaceful home is more valuable than the applause of outsiders. Think about it. The end.